All right, as promised there, let's go back to this conversation. South Africans at the Marry Me informal settlement in Soshanguve say they're living in fear following the brutal murder of 5 community patrollers over the weekend, and we now know the death toll has risen to 6. Let's discuss this further now. We're joined by Gauteng Provincial Community Police Board Chair TJ Masilela. Good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. Firstly, let's start with your reaction to this incident.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's unfortunate, and we pass our condolences to the families of the bereaved. It's unprecedented that you have some of the good deeds or intentions being overshadowed by such brutal killings.
And as a body, right, one would ask if you're not, you know, how concerned are you, especially because we understand, according to the community, that these were patrollers and certainly trying to keep the community safe. At least that's what the community is saying. How then are you concerned for the safety of those who choose to take on this role to try and maintain law and order?
I think it's the president also, I think, in the SANA has mentioned that community participation and active citizenry is very important. But I must say this, that it has to be done in a very organized and structured way. I want to say that these patrollers, unfortunately, are not part of our patrollers within the CPF. It might have been initiative out of frustration of the crime levels that they embark on this. But I know that the CPF in Soshanguve has been trying to bring them on board to say, look, you can't be deployed alone. We are deployed with the police, with the knowledge of the police and all the other law enforcement. But at times, I think maybe human nature sometimes pushes you to take action before. Because patrollers are deployed, are retrained, are redeveloped from time to time. It's an ongoing process, and the law enforcement must know that we have patrollers, so many patrollers who are there. We verify fingerprints and all that process, and the training, like I said, is ongoing. But like I said, two things that happens at times is that maybe communities become desperate, and or there are wrong intentions. And then good deeds, but the approach is wrong, because then if we don't know that we have community patrollers, whether they're in the CPF or not, and they are deployed and they deploy themselves, it's difficult to back up and support.
And when you stay then with the first part of your point there to say that communities are frustrated, one wonders then, I know you say that it must be organized and done in a structured way so that it's done with the police and all of that, but if some of the community members are saying that this is not yielding results and they simply continue to be frustrated about the situation, especially here when we are hearing claims that some of the community members are talking about possible extortions, that they're finding themselves paying for water, paying for electricity, and paying some kind of protection fee. So what then needs to be done if they find that these organized structures simply aren't serving them?
There's been efforts, I think there's even a toll-free number of extortions, but besides, you have committees in these areas. Whether it's informal settlement, you always have people that are organized in a way, in a committee way, and these must link to the law enforcement, whether it's the Metro Police, whether it's the Gauteng traffic, whether it's the traffic wardens, whether it's the CPF, but it has to link somewhere there, but also councillors. You know, if people are selling water, what is the role of the councillor there in bringing this information? Community intelligence is very important, and we were hoping, and we still hope, that communities must bring this information to the fore. There is a big tasking in the police now and the law enforcement, including the organized crime, to deal with extortion and extortionists. So it's important that we, as much as we are frustrated, but we also remember, just take a step back and just say, are we doing right, and who do we speak to? You can have this number, please, 1011 and so forth. Even the station should have those numbers. If the Department of Community Safety, there's a number that you actually call and remain anonymous, and so forth. So we just need to be cautious. You might find that as they were doing these patrols, there hasn't been any issue or being attacked or attempt of being attacked. Hence maybe, and it's in human nature. You don't actually report until maybe you are threatened. But it shouldn't be like that. If you're dealing with crime activity and trying to, obviously criminals will always try to be on the upper hand. So it's important that we use what is available, but we continue to engage with the local law enforcement.
So you speak about community intelligence. That's a very critical aspect, especially when it comes to crime fighting efforts. But when you then go to some of these communities, the trust in the police is at an all-time low. So they will tell you that they're not trusting those that are supposed to be protecting them. How do you begin then to bridge this gap and ensure that the community is able to give information to police officers that they trust and they know that something can be done with it?
Are we saying they also don't trust the community policing forum? I've never heard such. And because
I'm asking about the police. I'm asking about the police because you're saying that there must be community intelligence, right? I'm not saying that they're not trusting the CPF, but I'm saying if you're asking for community intelligence, how do you begin to ensure? Because in some of these communities, people say that they are not trusting those that are supposed to be protecting them, i.e. the police. It's nothing new that we speak about this trust that's an all-time low. So my question is, how do you begin to bridge the gap between the two?
You will agree with me, it's a bit of a tall task, but I've taken a lot of intelligence, and I know that CPF has taken a lot of intelligence. Some of the tip-offs that we have success, or the police have success, have come from the community tip-offs, which are coming from the community intelligence. So if in doubt of the police, please utilize the CPF, utilize the other threats. You can utilize even the councillors for that matter, or you can utilize the numbers that I've given you to say, look, there's a Department of Community Safety here, and there's a Primus Office, the numbers that can be used in giving this information. And I agree with you, and I respect that there is that possibility of not having trust that much, especially in the areas where like informal settlement, where it's a little bit difficult to have even, managed by data or let alone by bread. So I agree with you, but if we can be able to at least trust or include our own leaders from that informal settlement to be part of the community policy relations, so that the community part of it circle is bigger and possible this information. It's a difficult, I must say, it's a very tall order because of the history of community policy relations, but we can only try. And
as a final one then, how does the community begin to move forward, especially from this one? I know that you say that they've got to be organized and must make sure that they do this in a structured way with the police. That's one aspect of it. But now, secondly, how do they then move forward from this incident, especially when it comes to ensuring that those who are protecting, the community actually do get to, be safe? If the police themselves are struggling with resources in some of these instances, what would be your advice?
Okay, I also want to be honest with you and say maybe also us ourselves as leaders, we haven't promoted and marketed this platform of community policy relations enough. I would like to think, because if that is the case, then we would be able to have this trust also in those areas. But going forward, there's a meeting tomorrow, public meeting of the Premier and the Mayor and ourselves, and what we want to do going forward is to try and get to each and every informal settlement within the province and market this and give numbers. And that's what I've been telling you now. Let it be a practical thing so that because you find people saying, no, but I don't know. I didn't know that I can pick up the phone and phone so and so. I didn't know that I can go to the station and want to speak in camera with. So those are the things that I think maybe from our side might have been lacking. And we also have new leaders that have come through. There have been elections and so forth. So those inductions and those training, it's a continuous thing that I think we must also, together with the provincial leaders, must engage these areas, especially informal settlement. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of intelligence that comes from those areas, but I think we're not utilizing it to the fullest. So going forward, it will be a part of the curve of action in making sure that in those areas, we make sure even those patrollers that are not in our space, we need to bring them. We need to recruit them and bring them closer and make them part of the bigger circle. And possible in that way. There are areas where you have done this and we see better results. So yes, we have some really work to do here.
TJ, appreciate your time this evening, and let's see what comes out from that meeting that you're going to have tomorrow. And as you say, yes, there does need to be a little bit more of information sharing as far as this is concerned. But appreciate your time this evening. That was the Gauteng Provincial Community Police Board Chair, TJ Masilela.